This is the Average Joe Strongman Show. What's up, everybody?
Welcome to episode 25 of the Average Joe Strongman Show with my man Lee Woody here, my brother from another mother. I'm Mike. Great episode tonight with just a super cool dude. He has been competing in Strongman since 2006. He is a 4-time Scotland's Strongest Man winner. He's competed at the Arnold, Europe's Strongest Man, Britain's Strongest Man. He's the CEO and owner of Cerberus Strength USA. Mr. Ken Nowicki. Let's bring him in.
All right, here we go. There he is.
Guys, how are you?
We got him. He's here.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good.
Good deal. Hey, so Ken, before we get started, I this has been bothering me. You got to explain this. I don't know where this came from, but you got to help me out here. What is this?
Oh, God, I already know what this is. I was on vacation.
Come on, man. What's the story?
I was on vacation.
Penis cap? I mean, come on.
It's a tour guard, or whatever the hell it's called. It's some London thing. I don't know.
That's
All right.
The greatest thing
All
ever.
right. I mean, I saw that on Instagram. Like,
Dumbass making the girlfriend laugh.
all right.
I knew it was going to be that because Ken sent me the image that you put together.
Yeah.
Just the tip thing. I was like, you motherfucker. He's like, it wasn't me. I was like, who was it then?
Yeah.
Yep. That was classic.
Dude, no one is safe, man. When I see that
That's
stuff,
right.
you know.
Between you and Vaccio.
Yeah.
I think he's probably worse.
I'd say
he's
so.
He's definitely worse for sure. Okay, so jumping into it. So Ken, tell us a little bit about your athletic background growing up. I mean, what sports did you play when you were a kid or a teenager?
So for me, like I didn't play anything in high school or college or anything. Like honestly, organized sports in the UK, not that big. Not compared to here, Like I mean, high school football here, like shit, like it blows out, college sports out the water back home,
Wow.
So for me, like growing up, I snowboarded, I skied as a kid, snowboarded as a kid, hiked, mountain biked with no parents. And that was really it. I played
No wrestling, no.
We don't have it. We don't have wrestling like amateur wrestling. You have like Greco-Roman, but it's like not popular at. Realistically, at a high school level, you've got, I'm trying to think, like cross country or track, rugby, soccer, and maybe basketball, and then volleyball, stuff like that. But nothing like here.
So what got you interested in strongman?
I started lifting weights. So I joined the gym at like 15 and I started lifting weights at 12 years old. So 22 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was at that point in time like watching Schwarzenegger movies, watching WWE, and I was already a big kid. I mean, I was like at 14, I was I'm trying to do the math, like 14 stone. So whatever that comes to, like 180 pounds, 190 pounds at 14. When I graduated high school, 260.
Wow.
Big boy.
Yeah.
You're still a big boy. I mean.
Still a big boy. But yes, like for me, like I just did that stuff, and then I started lifting weights, and I was going to the supplement store, picking their brains about bodybuilding and powerlifting and whatever. And one of the guys there who worked there, he competed in strongman, and it was like amateur strongman, nothing high level, nothing like that, and I had no idea that actually went on. I went and watched. It was a fundraiser. I don't know if you guys remember, like 2005. It was 2005 or 2004. I think it was Christmas time. There was like that massive tsunami in Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
they did like a fundraiser for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and watched that in like the May, and then watched the qualifier for Scotland's Strongest Man the following February, and then I went and competed. You know, my first contest was a week before my 18th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you first win Scotland's Strongest Man? How long ago was that?
So I won 2012, 2011. So it was back in the day. There used to be 2 Scotland's Strongest Mans. So one qualified you for Britain's Strongest Man.
Okay.
And then one qualified you for UK's Strongest Man. So I won the first UK title. Scotland's Strongest Man title was 2011. Mm-hmm. Then I won both of them in 2012, as well as a junior Scotland's Strongest Man in 2011 as well.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. So Ken, you've obviously competed in the UK, abroad, and then you've also competed here in the US. So what do you see as the differences in the sport, you know, at least at the amateur level, between, you know, how it's done in the US and how it's done over, you know, in Europe?
I mean, obviously over here, everything's bigger scale because the athlete pool's bigger. You know, like we don't have national, or at least, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's still no, there's not a national championship in the UK.
Okay.
And there's no pro card. So it's a case of you go and you do a novice contest, and then you do, so I'm trying to think, the way, at least when I was back there, you did a novice contest, and then if you place top 3 in a novice contest, you're pretty much you'd get basically told, get out of novice class if you, people just make fun of you. You know, you're glory hunting or whatever it may be.
Sure.
So you went from novice and then into intermediate. There was sort of, when I was a couple of years in, they started doing this intermediate stuff. Mm-hmm. So you weren't ready for open class, which was try and get to Britain's Strongest Man and all that sort of stuff. You weren't a novice anymore. So they have intermediate, and then it was open class. But for me, I mean, I did 2 contests which were sort of novice, and then I did, I guess, one which was being classified as intermediate right when it was starting out, mm-hmm. and then after that it was straight into
big boy time,
open time, you know.
Yeah.
And so over here, I feel you've got more ability to, I don't want to say progress slower, but you can progress at your own pace, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there's also not that sort of, there's not really that sort of distinction between novice and intermediate and open type of thing. You know, it's if you're living in New Hampshire or you're living in, Massachusetts, you have to go and do that state competition, or I guess something around, nearby, or if you want to fly somewhere, go and fly somewhere else.
Yeah. To
qualify for, nationals or whatever it may be. Yeah. But you could do that every single year and win every single year and be a 15-time Massachusetts, strongest man. Right. And it doesn't really,
big fish in a small pond kind
exactly. It doesn't really cause you, problems, so to speak. Yeah. Whereas with the UK, I feel like the more lower level stuff you do, if you keep winning the lower level, you just start being seen as a lower level guy, if that makes sense, or a guy who really should be competing higher.
Yep.
And is for lack of a better term, bitching out.
Right.
Doing the low stuff versus stepping up type of deal.
You're a trophy hunter, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the biggest thing I feel. There's definitely, a far bigger pool here. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to have that distinction, between, local and then like national and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it works well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think then the problem you've got on the other side, and I don't know if this is the same as you. I know you guys are state reps for USS, but I don't know if this is the same for USS as it is with Strongman Corp. I feel once you hit that pro level, especially for a heavyweight pro, you win a heavyweight card, you're sort of tapped. Aside from, well, I mean, for the last couple of years, it's been one contest a year.
Yeah.
And then, I know recently there's some more pro-ams and stuff popping up.
Yeah.
But for a long time, it was you're tapped out for America's Strongest Man, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then what do? You pay your way and you go to, you go to SCL, you pay your way to go to SCL and try and qualify for some bigger stuff, or potentially, get lucky and get noticed by Giants Live or whatever it may be, and get in with that stuff. But it's hard because I feel like while the amateur system is good, it's also a little bit limiting at times, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know any of that about the difference. That's interesting stuff. So thanks for enlightening us on that one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Cerberus. How long have you been with Cerberus, and how did that relationship come about?
So basically, I moved stateside end of 2013. Literally like 2 days after Christmas in 2013, moved over to Colorado. And one of my best friends back home, he knows I guess he knows. So knows the owners of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still doing pretty well with stuff. Like I was still competing heavily and all that sort of stuff back then. And they just, reached out and like, hey, would you be interested in being a sponsored athlete? I was like, yeah, sure. I'd love to be. Like, why not? Like the product range was nowhere near what it is now. Like I believe like back then we had like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, wrist wraps, maybe lifting straps.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's Cerberus Strength actually started. It was like a sort of like a gym brand a little bit,
Yeah.
So around the local area where the guys who started it lived, there was a lot of MMA. So at one point we had like mouth guard and hand wraps for boxing, and I think that was all the products they had.
Yeah.
That was it. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then I got everything. I'm like, okay, the quality is good. It's not like it's crap.
Yeah.
And then it just started building a little bit. They did the sandbags, and then they started doing like knee wraps and different lifting straps. And the figure eights came out, or God, I can't remember what the process was in terms of like the way it developed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's what it was. It's just a case of like, hey, do you want to be an athlete?
Mm-hmm.
Said yes. Got some stuff over, and then they reached out and, hey, do you want to try and sell some of this stuff and bring this brand to the US?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, shit, I ain't got anything to lose. It's a couple hundred bucks, up front to buy stock, and like I had my stock, literally all the stock I had at one point fitted in like a 50-gallon tote. I still have that tote in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how it's
more.
What's that?
Not anymore. You got a lot more stuff now, don't you?
Hell of a lot more stuff. It's just a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, that's how it started. And it just, we just got a bit of traction and just sort of ran with it,
Yeah, no, it's been good growth.
Like I realized, it took me a little bit of time to realize that it could be something,
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually realized that it could grow probably until late 2016. So like I basically got the brand in probably summer 14.
Okay.
And it wasn't until late 16, if not maybe even into 2017, when I realized that this could be something.
Yeah.
And then I started putting a bit more time into it. And then I moved out to Washington State, opened a gym, put a bit more time into it, and then ended up moving out here to East Coast, and then this is all I'm doing. I moved all my equipment over here from like across the country for the gym.
Yeah.
I'm not opening a gym again. I'm not dealing with people because it's fucking terrible. I'm amazed at how grown adults cannot put empty water bottles in the trash can.
Yeah.
Dude,
yes.
Yeah. Lee and I both have stories. We all share stories for hours.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So when I go out here, I was like, this is all I'm doing, and I just ran with it. And I mean, I put in my time. Like I remember Ken was talking. I remember Ken and I were sitting talking. He was talking to one of his like Brenda's kids, his stepsons, I guess. And he was having a hard time with like what he wants to do and all that sort of stuff. He goes, like, you need to just basically eat some shit for a while. He's like, Ken's doing well now, but you didn't see the 80-hour weeks.
Yeah.
The 15-hour days in the warehouse doing everything, Because I ran the company by myself until what's the year 22, so basically a week, the Black Friday week of 2020, I got my first employee.
Wow.
Yep. So I was doing everything.
Right.
What's that?
Middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I just got to the point where I was like, I can't keep doing this. I was pulling 60 to 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing social media, I'm doing customer service, order fulfillment, God, the list goes on, you know. And I was like, it's time to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that's when I could actually really grow it, because I could actually put some time into growing it versus keeping it running.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, Ken, what does it take to be a Cerberus sponsored athlete or ambassador, and what's the difference between the two?
So the ambassadorship is basically, somebody who wants to. And the way I view Cerberus is basically like it's a big team, and the ambassadorship is basically sort of like, you're a team member type of thing, like you get a heavy discount and all that sort of stuff. But then a sponsored athlete's like that next level. Like you've got guys, Bobby Thompson or Rob Kearney, Hannah Lindsay, and like Nadia Stowers and Inez Carrasco. What's that? And Ken McClelland, I know. We've got a lot of people. I know. The list goes on.
Yes.
The thing is, I'm like, well, Ken's my best friend, so I'm like, this is Ken, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, because Ken works with the brand as well now.
Yeah.
And there's a hell of a lot of stuff behind the scenes that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Ken. So like, it's cool to have him behind the scenes as well as an athlete. But yeah, like all these high level athletes, like that's the differentiation. Is in terms of like, what are you doing? Like, what level are you competing at? What have you won? And all that sort of stuff,
So basically, Lee and I could be ambassadors, but not athletes.
That's right. Yeah.
You said it, not me.
Hey, I'm honest. I'm honest with myself.
Let's put it this way: I could be an ambassador these days, but I can't be an athlete.
Hey, father time always wins.
That's right. Every time.
So I've been a big fan of your products for years. But even more impressive than the quality of the products, which is the customer service that you referenced earlier. And you said that was you. It's always been exceptional. But talk a little bit about how important quality is, whether it's customer service product, like, for Cerberus, what is the commitment to quality sort of on both fronts or all of that?
I mean, obviously, like for me, I say growing up in the sport, because I feel like I did really grow up in it. I was been involved in Strongman since I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
It's like I've been involved in lifting weights for the last 22 years, inside a gym for the last, 19 and a half. And I feel like when I was coming up in the sport, a lot of the products that you could get was like really crappy stuff.
Yeah.
Or it was thin, or like the stitching sucked, or whatever, And I feel when we came on the scene, like the guys that are really, because they did all the initial product development. Like I've been lucky enough to be involved in some of the product development along the way, but for the most part, it's the guys at head office who've really spearheaded that, and they've been involved, in the fitness industry for a long time as well. And they saw like some of the same problems that I was seeing. I was just seeing from an athlete side versus a consumer side. So the quality is always the biggest thing. Like if we have a problem with something, like we literally. If a customer has a problem with a product, for instance, like, hey, my Velcro ripped off of my wrist straps.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that I'll ask to find out, is it a product problem or is it a use problem? And if it's a product problem, like we instantly send pictures, or I instantly send pictures back to the guys at head office. Like, hey, we've got this. Are you experiencing this as well? If they are, then we fix it. We'll go back and design things, change stitching, or whatever. And that's the big thing, because at the end of the day, like, yes, it's a business, but you don't have a business if all your stuff just falls apart. No one's going to buy your stuff if it falls to pieces. So the quality is a massive thing for us in the product quality side of stuff. In terms of the customer service, to me, it's more important than the quality of the product. And I think the quality of the product speaks for itself, but the quality of the customer service, that's a direct message from me. It's now a direct message from Devin, who's my warehouse manager.
Yeah.
Like it's a direct message from us as the brand here stateside, and then conversely the brand worldwide.
Yeah.
We have good customer service. We communicate well with the customer. If there's a problem, we'll fix it.
Yep.
And like I just feel like there's not enough people who stand behind their brands these days.
Yeah.
And that's just been a big thing for me. Like, I think it probably helped that I was involved in the sport and involved in the community. Because at the end of the day, if you give bad service and then you go to a contest, you look like a bit of an asshole,
Yeah.
Like, that was
shows. You guys do a great
I
job.
never wanted to be like this guy, just like out to sell a product at any means. Like, no, I'm there to support athletes, and as corny as it sounds, leaves the sport better than I found it. 20 years ago almost.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's cool. So we're going to take a quick break and talk about some shows or show a quick video, some shows coming up, and then we'll get back to it.
Sounds
We'll
good.
be back. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And we're back.
Here we go.
So, Ken, let's talk about some of this awesome gear that you guys make. All my upgrades to my gear have all been Cerberus, and I want to talk a little bit about the sleeves.
Okay.
So you guys make neoprene and polyester sleeves for elbows and knees, obviously. Talk a little bit about the difference between the different materials and what application. When should you be using them? Neoprene versus the polyester sleeves.
Sure. So basically, the neoprene is more based around warmth. It's warmth and support. I feel that in the last few years, the purpose of neoprene has been, what would the word be? Skewed, maybe, in terms of, how people who will size down a bunch and get rebounded out of their sleeves and all that sort of stuff. And you can get away with that to a certain extent. But a lot of people doing that are sponsored athletes who get their stuff for free. So if things tear, then they can just have a new pair,
Right.
Problem is, like, neoprene can only stretch so far, especially something like the 9mm sleeves we've got. It's a hard neoprene. It can only stretch so far. So it's more for warmth and support versus maximizing your lifts. Sure. So that's where the polyester comes in. Like the polyester, the elasticated material has, it stretches. So it stores the potential energy and all that sort of physics stuff. So that's where that is. So like for me, if I'm recommending sleeves, I'm like, hey, what's your main use? Like, do you want just support and warmth, or are you trying to add pounds to your lift? And if you want pounds to lift, say, you you want to add weight to your squat, use a pair of triple ply knee sleeves. If you really want to add weight to your squat, size them down 1 or 2 sizes. And hey, if you want to deal with the discomfort, size them down even more. But you're going to have to take them off.
Good luck getting them on and off.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
The funny thing is, getting them on is not that bad. It's the compression when you're wearing them. You know, there's a lot of people who will be like, yeah, like they were too tight. I'm like, well, what's your size? Like, oh, I sized down 2 sizes. And like these are not thin, you know? Like you're gonna have to take them off. Like if you want something that's gonna be able to wear your whole workout, a dual ply or like a properly sized triple ply, 100%. But if you're really trying to add pounds, you know, size them down and then just be prepared to take them off during between the sets. Yeah. But that's the big difference. You know, it's all down to, you know, energy storage, I guess, between, you know, what stretches and what doesn't, and what's going to add to the lifts and what's going to give you warmth and support.
Yeah, well, and I've had conversations with our friend Ken McClellan about, you know, as we age, right, us masters guys, right, that warmth, keeping the joints warm, is so much more important. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, like even at 34, you know, I pretty much always train with neoprene shorts. Yeah, you know, because I want my hips warm. Yeah, like if I'm, you know, squatting, I'm always wearing neoprene sleeves. If I'm pressing, I'm always wearing elbow sleeves. Like I was push pressing today, didn't put knee. I go back and forth on knee sleeves during push press. Today I didn't. Feeling a little bit beat up after squats yesterday, so I should maybe put them on today. But it's just all that warmth. It's warmth and support. Yeah. End of the day, like you have people be like, "Oh well, I didn't use sleeves, so I didn't get any extra assistance." I'm like, they're really not adding that much, you know. Yeah. Like let's be real. Like you're gonna get more from a belt, you know.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, at least, you know. Yeah. I feel like, you know, yes, you might gain a little bit, but think about the longevity of your body. You know, like that's what I don't think enough athletes think about that. Right. I think they're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to use sleeves because it's gonna add 5 pounds to the lift." I'm like, okay, but it might let you compete for an extra 5 years.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, please.
So, and I think the comparison, we were actually just talking about this last weekend at the gym, like the wrist wraps, right?
Yep.
So you put wrist wraps on, not to increase your lift, it's to support your wrist, right? It's a support element, right?
Yeah.
I view the elbow sleeves and the knee sleeves the same exact way, right? When I'm pressing, right, when I'm not wearing sleeves versus when I am wearing sleeves, the difference is in the support that I feel during the lift, right? It's that stability, right?
100%.
And maybe it's an old guy thing, but regardless, it's what I get out of it.
I mean, it might be, but you know, at the same time, I think I've been able to compete for a long time because I was, at least at one point in my career, smart about, you know, taking care of myself, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, I'll be the first to admit that in the last few years, I'm not really, you know, I'm not stretched up much as much as I should. I've not. There's a lot, especially now dating a physical therapist. Luckily, she's not home to hear me admit this.
Right.
But it's like, you know, like there's a lot that I've done, you know, that, you know, I took a bicep off last year.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have come off if I'd been doing this the proper rehab stuff.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
The funny thing is, like, I felt my best when I was actually doing, like, I used to do this little, like, well, it wasn't a little, it was probably a half-hour stretching routine before bed every night.
Yeah.
Felt great. Felt fantastic. I mean, okay, I was also 23, 24.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm sure doing it now would still give me some benefit at least.
Yeah, to be honest, it doesn't need to be 30 minutes. It could be 10 or 15 minutes.
100%.
Anything's better than nothing, right?
And I was living Strongman at that point. Like, everything in my opinion was Strongman.
One thing you didn't mention, I was going to bring up, is that, you know, the other added benefit of those, the warm shorts or the compression shorts, is they make your ass look fantastic. I mean, Lee, I know he walks around, you know, his ass is just, it's glorious.
I just can't wait until we release the black ones, because the red is new. Black is coming soon.
You're going to make Vaughn Sikorsky very happy, because he does not like the red.
Oh, I'm very aware.
Hey, it's the only reason I haven't bought them yet. When you release the black ones, I'm buying them, right? Because I'm all about the black ones.
They're pretty bright.
Yeah, they're bright.
I I mean, listen, if my ass is a 7 normally with those shorts on, it's a 9, right?
Yep.
So I mean, I don't mind the red.
I'll let you be. I will not be the judge of that.
You should. Pull back to gear. One of the favorite pieces of gear that I have that I've used for years are your figure 8 straps, right?
Yeah.
Just solid. And when I went from just regular, kind of classic wrist straps to the figure 8s, I've never looked back and won't. Although there may be situations when you want to use other ones, but you guys make several different styles, right? Figure 8s, the more traditional. Which ones are your favorite?
It depends what I'm doing. So I use the most often I wear that's like the regular elite straps, like just like the regular, 1.5 inch thick, 22-inch long, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just because that's for me, for so many years I strap into the bar, and that's it's another mental cue,
Yeah.
But I will wear the figure 8s if I'm doing something on an axle or if I'm pulling for reps in a tight suit. I'll wear figure 8s. Like if I'm pulling a max in a suit, I still like that strapping, even though you still can't breathe at the strapping in. I like that strapping. I don't know. It just does something mentally for me. But yeah, I mean, like if I'm pulling reps, I want to get strapped in as quick as I can, so I'm not depleted just by strapping in. That's what I do with the figure 8s.
Are you ever going to make straps big enough to fit Ken McClellan's big bear paw hands?
We go back and forth on it. It's hard because then you got to make a whole bunch. We can't order one set.
Yeah,
there's not. I mean, if I'm going to send 100 pairs of straps to Ken McClellan, okay.
And he's the exception. Those are giant fucking hands, man.
Yeah, I know.
They're the biggest hands of strongman. I know that's refuted at times, but they're 100% the biggest hands of strongman.
Yeah.
They're the same length as Felix's, but they're at least 1.5 times, if not 2 times as thick.
Dude, he's got these fingers that are like sausages. I mean, they're just like a bratwurst. I mean, it's
insane.
Yeah.
Last time I shook his hand, I felt like a child. It's like, okay.
Well, the first time Michelle shook his hand, she's just like, "What in the fuck is going on?" I don't like shaking his hand.
Yeah.
They don't call him King Kong for nothing, right?
Yeah, right.
King Kong.
Ken Kong, whatever, right? So, Ken, you guys, they recently started manufacturing and selling barbells and weights, steel plates and bumpers, right? So, how's that? How have them gone over as far as what's the response been?
I mean, barbell stuff has been great, especially the Deadlift Bar, especially SSB Bar. Had lots of good responses from that. People seem to like the power bar, seem to like the squat bar. Squat bars went down pretty well as well. GP bar, just like that general purpose, Cerakote finish, everyday bar. I mean, they've all gone down pretty well, in my opinion,
I look at your website, sold out, right? You can't keep in stock. That's a good
sign. But I mean, I've got literally right now, like I've got an entire container load right now coming up barbells and plates. And so we just can't keep stuff in stock. It took me a long, we've been out of steel 45s for a while now,
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of those on the way. Bumpers are slower. I mean, I think we did better in COVID, just because everyone was looking for stuff.
Sure.
But I know if we get when we get the 45s in, they'll start selling again, because we'll have them. The bumper, I think the bumper plate market's hard because you've got a lot of different brands, and realistically, there's not as many people looking for bumpers, really. It's a smaller market, so they move slower, but it's nothing that really concerns me all too much, But yeah, our biggest goal right now is to just keep working to the point where we don't run out of steel 45s. We don't run out of Deadlift bars. We don't run out of, whatever. Like we've done really well. We went through a period of time where we didn't have throw bags for like 4 months, maybe.
Yeah, it was a while. Yeah,
and I was like, oh my god, we can't get these in quick enough. And we're just bumping our numbers up. Every time we place an order, we bump it up. Like we've done. This order compared to the last order is up another 10% on the throw bags by themselves. Awesome. And then the jump I took from this order from the last one was like literally probably a 40% jump in order volume. Just trying to make sure that we don't run out of stuff.
Sure.
That's become some of the challenge, especially with some of the supply chain problems.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, supply chain's a disaster right now.
Yeah.
but it's a good problem to have. I mean,
100%.
high demand for the product for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned belts earlier. I also, within the last year, bought one of those the neoprene, the 7mm, like the warm belt support belts. Love that thing, right? And now you're carrying a 7mm underbelt, which looks pretty similar. So what led to the development of that versus?
So we actually released both at the same time. The 7mm back support, which is the one with the straps and everything. We've undergone some modifications in that. We've got the new one that's on the side. Well, the new one that will be coming, and we've still got a lot of some of the older stock right now. But the new one that will be coming is going to be the new one, which is there's going to be 3 straps instead of 2. So it squeezes a bit tighter. It's a little bit harder neoprene, so it's a bit more dense. And I got one from head office. And I love it. Those very minor differences compared to the original one just make it even better. And then the big thing with the underbelt versus the back support is that back in the day, Rebound and I think it was only Rebound. Like they were the one doing that type of belt, but they also offered one without the straps, so it was just for warmth. And that's basically what it is. Like you've got one which is just for warmth, no straps, and then the back support can be worn more by itself as well. So that's really what it comes down to. It's just something that you've got. They're both going to add warmth. One's just going to be more support than the other.
Depending on what I'm doing, I mean, I like wearing that when I'm doing carry events, right? Because sometimes a hard belt, depending on what it is, right? Egg or
can't breathe.
So the soft belt, just
I mean, what I do, like my trick's always been that. So I always wear my soft belt no matter what I'm doing. But my distinction is that, I will say, so I don't wear a soft belt if I'm wearing a deadlift suit because it's too much. So it's just on that occasion, it's just a hard belt on top of the suit. But any other occasion, it's like, if I'm doing yoke or farmers or something heavy moving, I will wear a hard belt. If I'm doing a carry event, kegs, sandbags, whatever, I'll have the soft belt on, but then I put the deadlift belt on top. And it's not cranked down. It's just snug enough where it gives a little bit of support, but it's creating a shelf.
I haven't tried that, but I like that. Yeah.
It just gives you that little bit extra. That way, you don't have to fight to keep things up near your sternum as much.
Right. Well, and wearing the soft belt with the deadlift belt, you're not going to end up probably as bruised as you will with
exactly.
So
for sure.
Cool.
100%. Good stuff. Yeah, the neoprene belt for sure, especially the warmth. That's probably one of my key pieces too, is just for the warmth aspect, right? Because you get, especially if you get into a big comp where you got, you can be half hour, 45 minutes up to an hour between events, right? And you start getting cold. It's especially for us old dudes.
Yeah.
You don't want to get cold for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Next question.
So, I mean, you guys are always introducing new products and, or next generation versions of existing products, just like the belt you were talking about. If you're able to share it, Ken, what's the development process? I mean, how do you guys decide either what to make or what needs to be improved in a second generation of a product?
So, in terms of like what we're making, our big goal is to be able to be, a brand that supplies whatever a strength athlete needs, So, even down to something like the calf sleeves, which, that was something I used to wear all the damn time. There was actually a point where I used to, if I was running a medley, sandbags, kegs, whatever, that I didn't wear knee sleeves. I wore a calf sleeve and my shorts because that way you're not getting any restriction in your knee joint, and you're not getting as much restriction. Like a hard knee sleeve will compress lower quad, upper calf.
Yeah,
you have that limiting factor of blood supply there. You put a calf sleeve on, so as you've got warmth in your calf. You put you've got neoprene shorts on, so you got warmth in the quads, hamstrings, hips. You don't really need a knee sleeve. So that was something I was really happy that we came out with that. And then I use them for deadlift as well, typically. And I've actually got another use for them. I'm filming a video this week or next that'll be out with another use for them that I don't think people will think of. But I'm not going to give that away just yet. You have to tune into my YouTube or my Instagram, whatever. But I mean, the big thing is just what I mean. One of them is like there's a little bit there's a part of it where it's like, okay, well, what's in the market currently, or what's been in the market for years that people need, and can we improve on it? And if we can, then we will go and we'll try to improve on it. In terms of the second generation stuff, a lot of that stuff just comes from customer feedback or issues that we see. We had, I don't know if you remember back in the day, we had our dual ply sandbags were black.
Yeah,
we were all black.
Yeah.
And the change in the color came from wanting them to be more recognizable. But as we changed that to the different color, we actually upgraded all the stitching, changed the material a little bit to harder corduroy, and all that sort of stuff too. So we just improved on it as much as we could, because we had some issues where a seam was splitting after a certain length of time, and causing problems with the back support. We found some of the Velcro was a bit crappy at times, or it would get fouled up quickly. So we changed the Velcro. We made that like a more sticky Velcro. We put an extra strap on, so it's 3 straps, coming around from the back and a finger sort of thing versus just 2, because with the 2 straps you were getting almost like this upper lower compression, whereas with 3 I got full round. And then we hardened the material a little bit, because people were like, it's a little bit, I feel it, but it's not, I'd like something a little bit stiffer. I'm like, okay, let's try this. And we got some samples, and the guys at head office did all that. And, it worked. Same with Deadlift Bar. I have literally the prototype Deadlift Bar in the gym. I was pulling on it yesterday. And, we basically took what was available in the market right now and looked to see how we could improve it. It's got a little bit of a longer sleeve. So it's the funny thing is, by powerlifting specifications, the bar can be 2.4 meters long. Ours is actually the only one which is actually that length.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, so it's we actually took that specification and worked to that specification. And that's why it's got that little bit extra loading sleeve, because we went to that spec. When we tested it, like, okay, how does this? I've got a Rogue Ohio bar, a Deadlift Bar. How does it pull against that? How's the knurl compared to that? What do we want, type of thing, And that's all it was. It was basically, what can we do? Like, we want to be able to provide everything a strength athlete needs. Is there stuff that's available in the market? Can we improve on it? If not, then shit, that sucks. But so far, we've been able to improve on things 9 out of 10 times, in my opinion, if not more.
So please excuse my ignorance here. I've never seen or touched one of the Cerberus deadlift bars. How does the knurling compare on that to, say, a Texas deadlift bar? Because I know Texas
it's a little less than Texas, but the problem with Texas is almost too much at times. In my opinion, it just chews you up. So it's a little bit less. It's probably the same as the Ohio, maybe a tiny bit sharper than Ohio. But it pulls nice. It's got a good bit of whip. It's not super stiff or anything like that. It's what you want from a deadlift bar, in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. When you look at your whole catalog, your whole range of products, is there anything you're especially proud of, or do you have a favorite product you're always like, oh man, this is the best thing we make? Or and maybe not. I mean,
no, I'm trying to pick one right now. like, geez. I mean, I'm very proud of the sandbags. And a lot of for a long time, because the way things basically work is that I'm a U.S. distributor. So for a long time, it was just like, hey, this is the products we make. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. And it took a long time for I was the first guy on the boat, so to speak, in terms of being a distributor. And over the years, I've had more input in the products and all that sort of stuff. And I think it helps, having competed for so long. But I'm really proud of the sandbags. I'm really, really proud of the job that the guys at head office did with the sandbag. It's something that I know there's a lot of people who be like, oh well, you copied that design. I'm like, I'm not gonna agree with that. Like there was a design out there, 100%. But we looked to make it better, and I feel we did. You know, we
sure.
changed the material. Changed the material. We changed a little bit of the filling, the zip closure, and how we changed some of that stuff. And I feel it works better. You know, I'm really proud of that. I'm really happy with, you know, like the neoprene sleeves, for instance, because they actually, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we had neoprene sleeves which were like an ergonomical cut. God, maybe 2016, 2017-ish, roughly. And they just, like, they worked, but they failed like nothing on earth. And we actually stopped producing them and went completely back to the drawing board. And that's where like the 7mm and the 9mm came from, you know? Like, I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy with like even something as simple as the salts, you know, how the different types of salts, the different types of tacky, you know. I just feel like we do a lot of things really well, while there's a lot of other brands who do one or two things really well. I feel like we do. I think we take a lot of our products and we've battle tested them, so to speak.
Sure.
And I think I'm really, aside from what we've done with the product, I think the biggest thing I'm proud of, honestly, is that we actually listen to the customer.
Yeah.
You know, the customers, if we're getting feedback and someone's saying, hey, XYZ is not working for me.
Yeah.
Or this is happening with the product. Like, okay, well, this seems tearing, or, you know, this strap is, you know, too slick, or, you know, it doesn't fit that well, or Christ knows what. Like, I feel like we actually take that and we, you know, use it, you know, well, and what's the word? Like, constructively. To improve everything else. And that's where, like I said, that's where you get the V2s and everything from, you know?
Yeah, right.
V2 sandbag, V2 belts, V2 whatever.
Well, it's like Vaughn Sikorsky saying, I'm not going to wear red compression shorts, right? You say, okay, we're going to make black ones for you, buddy. I mean,
I mean, we already had the idea to do black for a long time, and they've actually been in the works for a while here. We've just been waiting. For the supply chain's been killing us. But the reason for the red was everyone else is doing black.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone's doing black. So
let's be honest. Red and black. I mean, when I see red, I immediately think of you guys, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. Red and black is a fairly common.
And the other thing, we've got the sublimation print inside, you know. So if you want to turn them inside out, and you've got the dog head all over you, people love that as well.
Right. Yeah. Not the kick-ass logo.
Yeah.
It's funny too. You mentioned the sleeves. So I've only used 7mm. I haven't tried the 9mm.
Yeah,
but I gotta think those are stiff as hell. I'm curious.
They're pretty stiff, but they're not limiting. You know, and that's the good thing with them. Like for me, you know, like I don't use dual and triple ply. The only time I really use triple ply is if I'm going for a big squat. I don't want to wrap my knees. Like I use a dual ply when we were doing Max Bartos dumbbell back in 2017, because I found that it kept my rack position better. Because of that globe design. But for me, like, it's always been neoprene. It's been neoprene for the last 15 years, you know. So to have something like, you know, a little bit stiffer and thicker, that if I'm feeling like crap, I can put on versus a regular 7mm. Like I think it does really well, you know.
Speaking of rack position and circus dumbbell, dude, your grip shirt is killer.
It's good.
I mean, I just got one. I've only used it once, but it's badass. I mean, it's just the tacky on that.
When I got mine sent through, I was just like, okay, like, because I've been using another brand for years. And I always wore underneath under the contest shirt, because, you know, whenever the stuff I was doing, I had to wear a contest shirt.
Right.
And I started with ours, and like, holy crap, this is another, you know, absolutely another level.
Well, I just saw somebody on Instagram post. They were doing log or axle with one of your shirts, and they cut the sleeves off. I'm like, okay, I'm glad you spent all that money. Are you ever going to do circus dumbbell? Because you're going to need that. You know.
That's right. What are you thinking?
What are you thinking?
Yeah.
So it is a killer product. So well done on that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, the guys know that one at the park as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another thing you mentioned, Ken, too, that I think is important, that I think that maybe gets missed in context, is you were talking about, you know, listening to the feedback of the athletes that you get, right? it isn't just the feedback. It isn't like you're just going through 10 or 15 emails and reading what these people have to say and then making decisions based on that. You're interacting with, you're asking questions. Why did this fail? What are you using it for? You mentioned that earlier, and I think that that's really important. That
Well, it's like one really good example for you is the wrist straps. We had a couple period of time where, like, the Velcro portion of the wrist strap, I mean, I say a period of time, there was like 2 or 3 customers.
right.
But it felt like this kept happening over and over and over, and their Velcro was coming off. And finally, I said, "I was like, hey, are you like when you're putting your wraps on? Are you pulling? Are you holding on to the Velcro and pulling it?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, like that's not a handle. Like, pull on the actual wrap. The Velcro is just there to secure it.
Secure, right? Yeah.
You know." And like, I remember putting out a video about it, and then since then, I think we've had maybe 1 or 2 instances, and this was like, in the last 4 years probably.
Yeah.
And we've had like 1 or 2 instances, and that's literally been, a bad stitch or whatever.
Sure.
It's not been a consumer issue. I think that's where, like, to be able to, like, I hate the word or I hate the phrase educating the consumer, because I feel it's like, I feel it like sort of, makes you feel like try and come across. I feel like it puts you like you come across more like higher than the user. But
yeah, I get that, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And someone know.
That's right. And I agree. I agree with Mike. I think that, like the videos that you put out, Ken, and I watch all those, and it's amazing at even the stuff. And I've been a strongman for 10 years, and God knows I don't know everything about strongman, but you think you figured out a lot of things, but I've learned a lot from the videos that you put out. And I think that, the other athletes do as well. So I think that, some people, you're going to have the assholes out there that, think whatever they think, but for the general people and for a lot of the people that we're trying to cater to and building the sport is, it's a learning experience, right? If you can learn something and make yourself better.
The way I always viewed competing was, and this is like even when I was like, winning anything I went into, my outlook was always, if I go to a contest and I've not learned something, be it from my own performance or somebody else,
100%.
or watching somebody else, then I failed myself as an athlete.
That's right.
It's like, if I can learn something new, even if I win every single event in that contest, then I failed. Ultimately I failed because I can't get better than that then,
Sure.
Like, even just little things, like, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. God, yeah, my memory fails me. But
you're not even as old as we are.
It gets better. It gets better with age, Ken. Trust me.
Hey, speaking of videos, we would be remiss if we ended this episode without talking about your new podcast with Mr. Kevin.
I was wondering where you're going there after that picture earlier.
Yep.
I was like, oh God, what videos do you have?
Admittedly, Lee hasn't watched it yet. I've only watched a bit of it, but holy hell, is it funny. I cannot wait to see where you guys go and take that. So if you have hung in this long into this episode, anybody who's watching, please like and subscribe. But also, you got to watch Ken and Ken's new podcast, Between Two Kens.
I mean, it's a bit of fun. We've been talking about it for a long time, and we were actually supposed to do the first episode back in May, and then I got some bad family news that same day, so we were like, let's just do a test episode. And then we finally managed to get everything put together and have some actual guests on it, when we were in London with Rob and Spencer. We were trying to do everything they do it, be like, okay, well, we're going to do everything like face to face and all that stuff. Whether that's a case or not, I'm not sure. I think there'll probably be some of this sort of stuff as well, a Zoom call or whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, it's fun, he and I get along like a house on fire. We just want to have some fun with something and just see where it goes,
No, to watch it.
Plus, I don't know if how far you go into it, but like, a lot of podcasts, not this one, but there's been other podcasts I've been on where it's like, what's your favorite log press accessory? What's your favorite, event? And we really wanted to be about a bit more than that. So like in that, when we're sitting talking to Rob and Spencer, it's like Rob's telling us about, a lot of his life experiences and how he, came to the realization that, he's a gay man,
Yeah,
or
sure.
Spencer. And the funny thing is, like Spencer sitting listening to him, he was like actually like, like he took a lot of it. And he's like, he could understand some of those things and, understand like, the exhaustion and
Sure.
putting up front and all that sort of stuff. And then, speaking about Spencer with his daughter and, how that's changed his outlook on strongman, or, talking to Ken about, just being Ken and everything he's done in the sport.
Yeah, right.
Like this, and it's like, like enjoying the sport and enjoying the competitive aspect of the sport versus just going competing. Like I feel like that's something that's lacking in some of the media that's around these days.
Well, since you teed it up, I mean, we'll remind people again, if you're still watching, thank you. But our whole mission with this podcast is to educate people and entertain them, right?
Yep.
And sharing the perspective of not so much me and Lee, but the people we bring on.
Yep.
Because the other thing you just mentioned, I think a lot of podcasts, you get people who are talking to themselves, and they do more of the talking than their guests. I mean, we're here to let you talk, right?
Yes.
We're just interjecting in color commentary, but like we want our guests to do the talking and do the educating and entertaining.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
all right. So that being said, my final question, Ken, and this is going to go back to the athlete Ken Nowicki, not necessarily the Cerberus Ken Nowicki, but what's the best piece of advice you can give to somebody who's just getting started in the sport of strongman?
Compete as much as you can. I think a lot of people these days are, and I don't know if it's I don't know if it's because of social media or what the reasoning behind it is. I think you've got a hell of a lot of people these days who want to compete, but then don't, because they think that, if they don't do well, then, it's something, it's I don't want to say a slight on them, but like, they'll be embarrassed. So, oh man, someone's watching or whoever, whatever. The only way to get good at competing and to become a good athlete in anything, and I'm not talking about strongman, I'm talking about literally in anything, whether it's, ballroom dancing, running, snowboarding, strongman, whatever, just do it.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. Like I hadn't been, to come back to something else with me, like I hadn't been on a snowboard for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
I started dating Michelle last year, and she snowboards, and she, used to do CrossFit, and she does endurance stuff, half Ironmans and all this crap. And I was like, okay, I want to start snowboarding again. And I got my board, got my new boots and new clothes and all that stuff, and we went up for the first time. And I'm like, okay, I have no idea how this is going to go. In my head, I can be like, okay, well, you do this. This is how you do it. I remember all this. I remember how this felt.
Right.
I got off the chairlift, and I managed to get off the chairlift without falling. I'm like, hey, okay, cool. This is good.
Yeah.
Literally strapped my board up and made it about 25 feet face plant. Hey, well, shit. This is not good.
Yeah.
Again, another 25 feet face plant. I'm like, oh fuck. And she's watching, and she's like, I remember she told me afterwards. She's like, when you fell those first 2 times, I was like, this is going to be a really long day. Okay, thank you for that. But then it's just fucking again. And then now it's a case where we have an app on our phone that we run when we ride, so we can see how fast we've gone and how much distance we've covered and all that stuff. I'm back up, like the fastest I clocked this season was 36 miles an hour downhill. I'm like, I would never have thought that after 14 years. I mean, I was back in the park and everything this year. It's a bit different at 280 pounds, but it's just getting back going and like not worrying what people are going to think. Like that's the biggest thing. Like realistically, even if you go to a contest and you're going to see everyone there the next day, and you're worried about making a fool of yourself, fuck. What's the matter? Ego's the matter? Like realistically, like it doesn't matter at all. And because it comes back to that whole what's it, the old adage of the what is it? Those who care don't, or was it those who care don't matter and those who matter don't care, or something like that?
That's right.
Something like that. I'm like, that's the truth. Like, if someone cares about you, they're not gonna. It doesn't matter what you do,
right?
True. Like, unless it's something terrible,
Yeah, right.
Sure. Like, if they care about you, then they're gonna support you.
Yeah.
If you look dumb, you probably only look dumb to yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
That's
Like,
right.
if you're
I
trying
do
to
that every day.
dude, trust me too.
Yep.
I do dumb stuff just to try and get a rise out of her.
Sure.
Yeah.
Part of the sport. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to compete and you want to compete in anything, strongman will ever, just do it because you can't get good at it if you don't.
Yeah.
Like, the best I ever was, I was competing. It was 2012, and I was literally like a robot because I competed, 13, 14 days that year.
Mhm.
And it just became robotic. I didn't have to think. So just do it. Just literally just do it. Don't get sucked into this whole mindset of, I have to be hitting certain numbers before I compete. No, just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Hear it all the time. It's too bad.
Well, you
Good
now
stuff.
have the distinction of being the guest with the second longest episode. We were over like an hour 4 with Lynn Morehouse, but we really appreciate you taking the time, Ken. Had some great stuff tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to seeing you when I see you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
for
Thanks,
sure.
guys.
Thanks for joining us, Ken. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
Till next time, everybody.